Boom, 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 boom. What up, y'all? It's your man, Abuamerican. I didn't test my mic. Let me check over here on this thing because last time I had all these technical difficulties. Everybody was like, I can't hear you, Abuamerican. So let me check over here if my sound is working. Because we can't have this again. Got a guest on and then my sound's not working. So
we can't have this again.
There we go. All right. My sound is working. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Fahad. What's good, man? It's crazy. It's like over here on my main PC, everything is working fine. It's like what's the word? What am I looking for? Everything's coming through slower than on my pad here, even though this is on cable and my pad is on it's near dial-up. It's crazy. Yeah, Bobby's gonna be here in a minute. But until then, I'm kicking it with the homies. I actually don't have the background for once. Yes, you've seen it. You can see my place. It's all right. It's a little my boxing thing back here I train with while I'm on lockdown. I'd be in there like pew, 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 pew. Back there, could be setting up like an entire boxing and jiu-jitsu gym. And I know I heard Andrew just now say that jiu-jitsu is BS. I'm going to be training jiu-jitsu and my boxing. I don't care what he said. I'll just knee bar Andrew. You can tell him I said I'm a knee bar. He's cool. I like him, of course. Yeah, hold on. I'm talking to Bobby here. He's having technical problems. It's not a problem. But we were delayed because basically they were on air. Rich Cooper and Andrew Tate were on air. And, I wanted to watch it. So here I am. You started importing Chinese masks. I started selling bidets. Them little butt guns that Muslims known about since like forever. I started selling those things, man. I even got some Facebook ads that actually didn't get canceled. The craziest thing. It's the first time it's ever happened. I guess there was someone at Facebook got a big butt and it's always dirty. And it was like, oh my gosh, we're not canceling this ad for nothing. And I ran the ad and it went through. What's crazy though, is like the first time I actually run an ad, I put zero effort into that thing. I was like type some goofy stuff and I was like, they gave me some Facebook credit and I used a little bit of like extra credit. It came out to like $17. It wasn't a lot for like 5 days, I think it was. And the ad went through and I was so mad because I'm like, I got my goofy picture up there, with my face being run to thousands of people. It wasn't even from my commercial Facebook site. It was actually from my Abuamerican one. Yeah, it was the goofiest ad. For those $17 I got to reach, it wasn't like a spectacular reach, but it's better than what I normally get. We had like 5,800 something, independent new visitors. So it's better than nothing. It's something I could definitely say I'll do in the future, but I want to actually make like a more, yeah. I want to do something. Yeah. Come on, man. So it's something I want to do in the future, but I want to make a proper ad, because a lot of people are selling these things now and their ads are quite nice. And so I can't just come out here half stepping. Like I said, it was just something I tried. And I was like, what the heck is that? It's something I tried and it ended up going well. Yeah. Man, so how's everybody? There's not too many everybody, but how you guys holding up in this what is this thing called? Quarantine. Yes, that's what it's called. I actually went out and got some Burger King during the quarantine. I ain't gonna lie. I don't even know why Burger King is open in the quarantine. I mean, it's like, what did they say? Essential people only. Burger King became essential. Anyway, just to be an American and a rebel for freedom and America and stuff, I went and got some Burger King. And I was like, what up? And I had to post it on social media that I was actually, doing my part for freedom and independence and individual rights by getting Burger King during the quarantine. It was nasty. It tasted disgusting. I mean, I don't really eat that stuff too often. Actually, it wasn't too bad. The burger wasn't bad. I threw the fries away, and I took a sip of the Coke because I don't like that greasy feeling on your tongue. And Coke, nothing like strips grease off of your tongue like Coke, and then I threw that away too. So I just really ate the burger with extra pickles, double extra pickles. They made me pay for the pickles, man. You Germans, man. They make you pay for ketchup and they make you pay for extra pickles. And I was like, I don't want the onions. Give me the pickles. And it was like, well, I can't give you a discount on onions. I'm like, you keeping the onions? Give me the freaking pickles for free. Germans, I tell you. Yeah, getting outside is important. I agree with you, man. You got to get outside. I mean, I live out in the countryside, so I can get outside and I can like walk like 2 minutes and be in the woods and not see anybody. So I don't think they're gonna be out there looking for me. What up, girl? So I don't think they're going to. Yeah, I didn't bring you no burger. Yeah, I didn't bring you no burger. You don't need no burgers, okay? You don't be doing your squats and stuff. You don't need no burgers. You start doing your squats, I'll bring you a burger. You stop doing your squats, so you get no burgers. Let me see what's up with Bobby. Uh, oh, he sent an audio message. I have to mute my mic to listen to this. Hold on. Let me tell him I'm on air. Air. Yeah, hold up. Let me put you guys on mute. Okay, my man is like, yeah. Listen, Mr. Buy more buy steak is life for Abuamerican. Okay, I eat steak twice a day. As a matter of fact, I should send my girl to the store to get some steak. She's watching this. You should get steak. Hey, you there, Miss Ha Ha Ha. I'm gonna give you my cards. You need to go pick up some steaks because there's only one steak in the fridge. So why don't you go get some steaks? Here's the cards with the money. Here's the card. There's the card. I want you to come and get this and go to the store and get some steaks because I'm gonna be on air and the store is gonna be closed. All right. Good girl. It's right here on this little chair. Steaks, good steaks. Don't give me them stringy ones that are all hard and stuff, man. Sorry, guys, handling business. Bobby just said he's having problems, technical problems with his camera on his phone. So we're gonna wait for him to come in. But until then, let's just let's see what's going on in the world with everybody. In New York, 10% of the police force got sick. Uh, defecation, oscillation. Are you using the right word here? Defecation? Do you? I'm not sure you're using the right word. Yes, my niggas, I'm serious. Steaks. 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 I can add a couple of A's in there so I can drag it out. So anyway, yeah, Fahad, check it out, man. Okay. I understand now. That's funny, Fahad. That's us defecation hits oscillation. Well played, sir. Well played. I should have figured that one out. So anyway, same thing happened here in Germany, Fahad. I mean, most of the cases of sicknesses, we have about 75 new cases a day. And me and Bobby aren't going to talk about this. Bobby is so specific. He doesn't want to talk about this. It's kind of getting old. But yeah, in Saarland, a lot of the police and nurses are getting sick also. So I think a lot of the cases here are from law enforcement, government, nurses and whatnot. They're all getting sick. They actually had to close police departments. So I was quite happy that I got my gear. You guys saw me posing with it right in time because the state I'm in is the number one drug trafficking state for France. So everybody out here loves amphetamines. Amphetamines is like this white pill, but they crush it up and then they snort it. You can take it orally, and that's how it's designed. But apparently, it has better efficacy. I don't know. I'm not a drug user. I never have been. But apparently, it's more effective if you snort it. So they snort it like it's cocaine, and all of that crap, all of that gear comes across the border from France into Germany for Germany wide through my state. And so you can imagine police forces like police stations shutting down, number one drug trafficking state, and a bunch of people. So in the middle of a crisis. So I'm quite happy that I got my crossbow. I tested it yesterday, and I'm ready to light some people up. All I just need is an opportunity. Let my little oops, that side. Wait, that side. Let my little mad monkey go. And as a matter of fact, you can get the book and find out why I'm such a psychopath and want to shoot people with crossbows. Yes, I said that on YouTube. So anyway, me and Bobby were going to talk about finding a tribe, and this is an important thing, especially in these times. It's kind of hard to have this conversation without talking about what's going on right now, because I mean, more than ever, you really need your tribe. You need to find your people, and sorry, trying to figure out what's going on here. And you need a backup and a support system, basically. And your tribe is going to be like, I guess it's like your real world fantasy football. Is that appropriate comparison? Ooh, there goes my man, Bobby. So what? One second.
No, there was an update today here.
We're live, Bobby.
Oh, that's
okay. Yeah,
great.
we're live though.
Yeah. All right. So maybe I can help some people out in the studio with this one. Hold on, I gotta set this up, man. I'm all flustered.
No problem. Take your time. I'm just kicking it with the crowd.
Okay, cool. So there was an update today with with Mac stuff. Let me see if I can make this look better. I don't know, something like that. So there was this update, and I went to the StreamYard website for the frequently asked questions, and it said make sure that you have web access. So I went into Safari and had to change it to because it says ask or just allow for both the camera and the mic. So I just set it for allow, and then it let me do it when I came back in. So we're good. Oh my Jesus,
Text, man.
yeah, like technology.
Yeah, indeed, man. I kind of suck at it. Let me see if I can get my mad monkey back in the picture.
We got the mad
it's gonna
monkey.
Be like it's gonna be in front of my face though. That's the problem. I don't know how to set it at the back. Wait a minute, there's a way to set this at the background. I think I just got to change the order. There we go. Video capture device above, and then it disappeared. No, whatever. So anyway, you guys
always
know where to
something
find
with an update, man.
I know.
Yeah.
Right?
So I can't see what who's in. We got some people in the audience there, or some people on the.
So far, second, man. It's not looking good. It's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of whack. But the posts are always quite well. It's the craziest thing. Where were you guys when we were live? It's like, what's gives?
Yeah, for real. The internet's coming through all right. That's the first time. I just moved into my new apartment, and it has the Wi-Fi and all that, but I don't know how it is. It looks good and
I think
everything.
It's smoother to me, man. You're coming through real clear. I mean, crystal clear
cool.
in both video and sound, man. So
excellent.
Good.
Excellent. Good to know for future. Yeah. So how you doing, bro?
Man, I was just telling guys I feel good because it's like I'll really explain it. But basically, the state I'm in Germany, it's like at the border of France, and so we have like a huge and long border with France. And so what it is because it's so porous, guys can just pass through without any sort of border control. The borders were always open anyway, and so this is where all the drugs from France come into Germany for all of Germany.
Gotcha.
And then to top it off, all the cops are getting sick. And so they've closed several police stations. And I'm like, I'm happy I got my crossbow, so because, fewer cops and a lot of drug dealers is the bad combination generally.
Right. Hey, let me ask that because I noticed before I moved over here, I was reading up on the rules with the EU and how it works and everything like that. So you living over here longer than me, is the EU more or less just people can just go through it like nothing because they're all part of the. Oh,
absolutely.
Wow.
If you have an EU passport, or even as an American, if you have EU passport or some very strong passport like the UK is no longer to be in EU. You can just drive through any EU state. EU citizens can actually live anywhere. So most of my coworkers, they live in France, but they work in Germany.
Okay, yeah, because that's one of the things I was looking at because I plan on being here long enough to where I can get a passport, and then once you have an EU passport, man, you're good to live anywhere, it seems. I mean, that's correct.
Yeah. This is
That's
this
awesome.
next one comes up in this year. I think it's June, and then I can get a German passport. So I'm ready to do this.
Shoot.
I'm going to get my German passport.
That's cool, man. No, good for you. That's good.
Yeah, man.
Trying to get. No, I'm just trying to mess around and make sure that it's because it's weird for those of you that are watching. There's like the screen, but then off to the side there's like this other screen that shows you like how you look in the screen. So it's weird because I'm like trying to orient myself, and I'm like, okay, this is
it's better in PC.
Yeah.
When you do it from PC, it looks better. So when you get set up properly, it looks much better.
Yeah. The only thing is with these, I mean, I have a MacBook Air, but the cameras on PCs or Macs, they suck. Like the cameras on phones are just so much better that for clarity's sake, that's just it just seems easier. But when I do it, I do mine through Zoom when I'm doing I have to do like remote podcasts. And with Zoom, I have to do it PC because otherwise I can't get that gallery view that I like, the split, like how it is now, the split screen. Yeah. So, but anyways, enough of this technical jargon.
Yeah, but back to that, my wife has like a MacBook. Is it MacBook Air or MacBook Pro? I can't remember. Anyway, she got a MacBook, and this actually, I've got the Logitech Bro something 4K. This is a 4K camera, and it works fine with that also. It's just you got to get the little USB adapter thing that goes in the side, and you can plug it in. It works fine. So it's always an option.
Yeah,
getting like a
I do.
quality camera.
Right, and I have that adapter. As a matter of fact, it was funny because I was over at some relatives' house down in LA, and this adapter that I have, like you can hook like, I don't know, 10 things up to it, like 10 different, whatever. It's like a super adapter that goes in and one of them is an HDMI cable thing. And I have a bunch of movies that I've bought on iTunes. Like I don't rent them, I just buy them because it's like, then I just got them forever, So I was like, I got these movies, we can watch them on the Mac, and dude's like, hey bro, why don't we just hook an HDMI cable up to your Mac to the TV and we'll watch them on the TV. I was like, you can do that? And he's like, welcome to the 21st century, bro. Like, whoa, So it's like, I'm constantly learning shit on this. It makes technology is really the only thing that makes me feel like, I hate to even say it, but just makes me feel older.
I can actually screencast sometimes from my PC over to the television because I got a flat screen mounted on the wall. It's a huge one. I don't know what size it is, and I screencast. There's a delay in it that makes it like kind of like unfun, So it's actually screencasting from my phone to the television. Actually, is it's a more enjoyable experience. So screencasting is also a thing, Yeah. Then you don't have to actually have a wired connection, but wired connection's faster.
Yeah, I got one of those too, and there's an adapter to that to where I guess like what do they call it, Ethernet or Ether cable or whatever, to where I can just hook the wire up to the router and it goes faster. I have one of those for there, but
I don't know what happened in my house, man. My internet, I mean, it's been like a few weeks now. I noticed on Dude Party because I'm always on Dude Party every Saturday. What the heck is all this stuff on me? And my internet just started acting crazy, and now I notice my internet. I got 5 and 2 set up. This 5G and 2G, 2.5G set up, and the 2.5G keeps on dropping out. So I just ran a hard cable to my television. It's actually significantly faster, even though my internet in my house itself is kind of slow because I'm on my ex-wife's cable to do the lives.
Oh, okay.
So if I tried lives on my connection is too slow, I need to pay to get cable installed. Like I think I told you before, I got to move out of this place, so I'm not going to pay all that money for this. Or maybe I told John that.
Bro, God, everybody's just hearing us talk about technical BS.
I know, right?
Sorry, fellas. No, but
we're just having a regular conversation, the regular dude conversation.
I know. No, the data on these phones out here. Okay, so I mean, you're gonna probably, I don't know how it is in Germany, but out here in Romania, like you pay like $7 or $8, and you get like 100 gigs of data a month, right? Now, if that's not cool enough, in comparison, so my phone back home through Verizon, which is a big company back there, I was on the Beyond Unlimited plan, and you only get 22 gigs before they throttle you a month, right? And you're paying like for an iPhone, you're paying like 100 or 120 bucks a month. So I mean, it's like, see, and not only that, but I ran a speed test because I was wanting to see like what my router does, and then after I did my router, I'm like, I wonder what these phones do, man. And it was like it went up to like 120 megs or something like that on the test. I was like, holy crap, this is the fastest data I've ever used. Yeah, man, and that's just the data off the phone. So I think the way that it was explained to me, why it's so good out here like that, is because in the United States, they have all the old infrastructure and they're just constantly like either repairing or adding on to it. To where here, because they're more or less a brand new country, they're just putting all the new shit in.
They're just like getting the good stuff from the start.
Yeah, right. So I mean, that's how it was explained to me. I don't know the veracity of that, but I'll run with it.
Sounds legit though.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. Digging it.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
I just put down as the titles like finding your tribe. Really, I mean, we said we weren't going to talk about coronavirus. We're not going to talk about coronavirus.
Oh man, you brought up the C word, bro.
The C word.
Purposely.
I thought that was China.
Yeah.
The C word was China.
Hey, only because you brought it up. Only because you brought it up, and I'm just going to touch on this real quick, and then I'm going to let it go. But I saw this news article, and it was NBC that put it out, and it said something to the effect of superpower is stepping up to help the world, or I don't know, to give aid to the world, and it's not the U.S., it's China, and I'm like, well, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like suppose it's like similar to like your kid messing up their room, and it's like, don't worry, I'll be the good guy and clean that up. It's like, well, yeah, you made the fucking mess. You better go clean that up, you know? So I mean, yeah, and it's just amazing to me. It's like a propaganda machine almost, right? And people, you know, if the mainstream media, they're going to find out, I think sooner than later, that with all this that's going on, you know, and with everything that's happened and everybody, because in my mind, the virus isn't the worst part. It's these people that are losing all the money and, you know, the economic, and I think that far more people can be affected by that and are affected by that than a virus, right?
They're talking crazy.
People,
the governments, man.
Yeah. Well, people, the mainstream media is going to find out that people don't want to hear this propaganda bullshit. Like, they're going through it.
They never learned the lesson. The mainstream media, they never learn.
People don't learn either.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this: how many times, and I hate using the phrase because I know people are going to associate it with, you know, oh, Donald Trump, and I'm some kind of Trump supporter or something. But fake news. How many times has it come out and been proven, right, that the mainstream media is full of shit?
And they know
it. Yeah, and they deal in sensationalism. That's their whole get, because they got to sell those ads. So people don't learn because they keep believing it.
Yeah, I don't think that
all this information that's coming out, they're going, oh, well, look, the experts are saying it, and look at this. It's like, wait a second. Just last week you were saying that they were the devil and full of crap, and now you're like taking their word as gospel. Which is it's crazy to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's a big problem. That's what I mean by they didn't learn their lesson, because they've already dealt with, like, you know, a lot of the actual physical newspapers collapsing because of the fake news reputation, and now they're right back at it online, though. You know, just on a larger scale digitally. Like, it's not going to have the same effect. People are getting sick of it, you know. And you know, it's funny because when you're talking about, like, you know, who's helping the world, I just posted a link today showing how, like, China delivered like a whole bunch of faulty like test kits to like multiple countries around the world. Really, they're helping? Right, yeah. Helping what? Spread the virus?
Well, that exactly, because then I think about it like this. Okay, now I'm totally not a conspiracy theorist. I want to put that out there right now. I don't wear tinfoil hats, and, you know, I don't follow what's that, Q or QAnon or Quagmire, or whatever the fuck it's called. Okay, I don't follow any of that. Okay, but let's just suppose for a second, because I've heard the theory of like, oh, China's trying to mess the world up, and now they're going to come in like a economic superpower, because of everybody's messed up and blah 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 blah. Right? If we run with that and think that and say that, okay, maybe there's a possibility of that, why would you want to take anything from them? Especially a test that has to go in your body or has to be near your mouth or why would you want that? Why would you want a mask from the place that caused this whole friggin' thing? Like, the idiocy abounds, bro. I would rather tie a scarf around my head and breathe through that than take any type of PPE that comes out of China. That's just nuts.
I agree with you. I think I started the cancel China hashtag. So I really do. I've been hashtagging that regularly. I like cancel those dudes, man. They just hate us. They hate everybody. I don't know what's wrong with those guys, man. They're over there torturing animals before they eat them. I think they're I don't know. They're just mean, man. Those people are just mean. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, yeah. Hey,
I'm gonna sound like a racist soon.
Okay, we're done about the virus, but I need to touch on this. Okay, remember when that whole thing was going down with Hillary Clinton's emails and like how she had all these emails that were missing and all that? Who hacked all those emails? It was China. They were the ones that they were saying, oh, China hacked all the emails and did all that stuff. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, thank God, China to the rescue. It's like, nah, bro. they're like they're coming with a smile and then gonna stick you in the back.
I tweeted it like last week. I said, they brought us human rights violations against the Uyghur Chinese. They brought us espionage both on a military and an industrial level. They brought us world disease. They brought us crumpled economies. Like these dudes, man, they're batting 1,000. We want to pitch any more balls to these guys, really?
Yeah, and the scary thing about them, the scariest part about them to me, okay, is this. We have around 400 million people now here. And they've got, well, I shouldn't say here because I'm in Romania. Let's say the United States, okay? There's about 400 million people there. China's got about a billion and a half. So
they got a billion people.
Yeah, so we could throw every man, woman, and child at that country, like if there was some type of altercation or war scenario. We could literally throw our whole population at them and just get swallowed. You know what I mean?
They just got to give those guys pitchforks and we're done. Right. We can have machine guns and they're going to run us over.
And I know people are going to sit there, especially people from the military and stuff like that. And by the way, I was raised by a Marine Corps officer. I have nothing but the utmost respect for the military. I will never talk shit on people that are serving. I think they're brave and doing an honorable thing. But I know that some of them are going to be like, oh, well, we're a superpower and we're a super, this and that and whatever. You need people on the ground to win anything. Okay, if you want to talk about a true victory, okay, you have to have boots on the ground. You aren't getting it from a drone or from an airstrike or from, whichever. So in that scenario, they could swallow us up. I mean, it's crazy. But anyways, enough about
that. There may just that. I mean, from a military perspective, since I come from a military family, also my kids are military and everything. We saw this in the Korean War, where basically the U.S. and Korea and some of the allied forces pushed Korea so far back that they actually ended up on the Chinese border. And China was just like, okay, we can't have this. I mean, China got involved in the war and they pushed us all the way back to the current demilitarized zone. Right. And everybody's like, where are all these troops coming from and well-armed troops? There's just so many of them. And they had to draw back. And, in China was basically their logic was we can't have 250,000 foreign troops like a mile from our border. We just can't have that. And they got involved. And just from sheer numbers, they pushed the entire U.S. forces and allied forces.
That's what I'm talking about.
So imagine an even better equipped and trained Chinese army than back then, and a larger one. Yeah,
that's been stealing all of our secrets. We don't know what they got.
We can't mess with those guys.
We don't know what they got.
One of my sons is
My
actually
grandpa
up
was
here.
at. Oh, what is it?
Come here. This
What is
is
it?
my son. This is my son Obey.
Hey,
This
what's
is like
going on, Bobby?
he's number
Nice to
4.
meet you.
He's
Oh,
gonna be
wow.
18 soon. Yeah, he's gonna be 18.
Oh, good for
What's up,
you,
man?
man. Good,
I had over there or in the hallway.
good for you.
He lives downstairs.
That's a blessing, man. That's a blessing to have. You got kids and health. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Look on top of there. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everybody.
No. Ain't even tripping. You want me to amp a little bit? Keep going about China. No, my grandfather was actually he actually flew in that Korean War.
Oh, nice.
I want to say it was.
Yeah, you did say you had like a pilot or something. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You own an airplane.
The last show, you said something about business. A pilot or someone fly. Did you say that?
Yeah, that was my grandfather. And I fly. Well, let me past tense. I flew. I haven't flown in a while, but I grew up flying airplanes with him. And now they were STOL aircraft, like STOL meaning short takeoff and landing, not like we hot wired them or nothing. Yeah. But he was actually flew in that war, and I want to say it was an A4 or something that he flew. It wasn't the F4; it was something else. But yeah, he was in that conflict.
Nice. Yeah. I wonder if the F4 was in service back in the Korean War.
I don't think it was. I think that beast didn't come into play until Vietnam. And I have an F4 story if you like airplane stories. So check this out.
My dad was an ejection specialist on the F4, so yeah, shoot.
Okay. So check this out. So in Chino, California, okay, there's an airport and there's also a museum. Okay. Now back when I was a kid, my grandfather was friends with this dude that I think he paid like a little over $1 million, but he got a decommissioned F4 trainer. Okay.
Wow.
So because an F4 is single seat, but this had tandem for the training, right? Now you can't paint them when you buy like a military aircraft that's decommissioned or whatever at all. Like they can't have any type of insignia painting. The only thing that could be on them is the call sign on the either on the vertical stabilizer, whichever. So it was all like aluminum looking, right? And the guy was taking it up, and he told me, he goes, "Do you want to go up with me for a little bit?" And I was about 16 at the time, and I was like, "Fuck yes, I want to go up in this," right? I mean, like, when am I ever going to get the chance again? So we take off out of Chino, and he fucking just comes back on the stick, right? And puts us at like pretty much almost in a vertical straight line. Now, I grew up flying these prop planes that would climb between like 1,000 and 1,500 feet a minute, right? Like that's how long it took him. When he threw that thing back, he started counting off elevation, and it was like this: 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. 4,000, 5. I mean, we were just like, whoa, right? And I mean, you're feeling it, but when you're in a plane like that, it's not even. I mean, you're flying, but it's almost like just being strapped to a guided rocket or missile. Like it's just so much, like just power on those things. You're just like, oh my god. F4s are really good at going fast, but they're not too great at turning. Their maneuverability is a little crappy.
Yeah, that's what my dad actually. He was on the F. F4 is F4s, but he was on the F4R, the reconnaissance one, and that's what they were used for because they were so fast, straight line. They used them for reconnaissance, and so those ones that he used to work on, they weren't armed until he retired. When he retired, he started working on F-18s, B-52s, F-111s. He was like all over the place at the end of his career. Yeah,
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's one of the. That was one of the cool things about the SR-71. When they used it was when people would fire SAMs or the surface air missiles at them. The plane could just outrun the missile.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because the amount, because of how fast that plane was going, the altitude it was at, and the amount of force thrust that the missile had to do to get there. The plane could just literally outrun missiles.
Go on, yeah.
Yeah,
They,
that's nuts.
those are our best spy planes. Are basically the SR-71 and the U-2. The U-2 was just playing out so high that they couldn't.
Yeah,
They couldn't like their dad. There was nothing that could shoot it down. I think they still use them.
right.
I think the U-2 is still in service, isn't it? I'm not really
I
sure.
don't know.
Did they
I
retire?
know they decommissioned the SR-71, but
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know if
it.
they still use. But then again, who knows what they use? It's just like
Yeah,
when that
exactly.
thing happened with when we went and got Osama, right? And they crashed one of the helicopters, and they had to blow it
Yeah.
up because it was a super top secret helicopter that nobody knew nothing about, including the American public, right? And so they had to attach these they had to basically attach demolition to it and just blow it up so that the secrets couldn't be stolen off of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
who knows what they got, man?
Yeah, true. They're probably
Probably got
using satellites
spaceships for all
anyway.
we know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna fly as high as the U-2 does, you probably use a satellite these days.
Yeah, nowadays you
Yeah,
put a satellite anywhere, right?
true.
So we're finding tribes,
Finding
finding
tribes.
crews.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I was saying, there's kind of a connection actually to the situation and the importance of actually having a tribe to fall back on nowadays. I mean, but how does a person find their tribe? And this is a big problem with the age of social media because you got so many
yeah.
people out there with fake personas, fake profiles,
Mm.
fake personalities. It's like, how do you actually find a tribe in this day and age that you can really, deal with?
Yeah, I would say that people think of social media. Well, I shouldn't say all people, but some people think of social media as the end all be all. Like they get in, they make a cool profile, maybe they start getting a bunch of followers, and
Yeah,
they think like, great, I've made it. From the gate, for me, social media was a means to meet people in person, to go
yeah,
places, to experience. And I really think that if you're gonna have any type of tribe or crew or friendships with anyone, you have to take it to the next level. You can't just be on social media and be like,
yeah,
oh, okay, I know this person, or this person's my guy, we're tight, whatever. Because it's like you're saying, that person could be
yeah,
full of shit. You don't
absolutely.
know until you've spent some time with somebody. And as much as we would like to uh, think about how far we are in the future with all the technology and gadgets and everything, nothing
Hmm.
replaces person to person contact. Nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I just right off the bat, if I were to recommend anything to anyone about how do you find your tribe or how to use social media as a tool, use it as a
Hmm.
tool to meet people, to meet up. Don't just think
Indeed.
of it like the end all be all, like, oh, I got a bunch of followers, so I got a crew. No, you don't. You don't got a crew. You
Indeed.
know what I mean? You got
No.
so it's
You end up with a bunch of haters and weirdos.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
it's
won't say any
crazy,
names,
man.
but like you said, you got people obsessing over you for quite some time now. So you
Oh,
end up with
me?
all sorts. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
remember we were talking about it in the war room. It was
yeah.
just like, you have people who will obsess over you for,
It's
you end up
crazy.
with all sorts of weird stuff.
Well, yeah, and that type of stuff is crazy because the story with that. Look, we're not on social media right now, and I know some people may want to. I shouldn't go too deep into it, but the crazy thing about
Yeah,
it
that's
was
why I didn't
this.
say any names. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was just saying, it's like you end up not only with like people that like you, but you end up with weirdos like this.
right. And the crazy thing about it is that this dude tried to swindle me, right? And then because I caught him, I mean, because look, bro, I spent a dime in the joint. Like, your swindles ain't gonna go far. You got to be like super duper expert level to pull something over
You
on
got to be
me.
on your,
Okay,
you got to be on your A game.
yeah, A plus plus game, right? 5-star game. So when I called the bullshit and was like, oh, no, no, and then he turned it around like I'm a snake. And I'm like, I'm a snake because I didn't fall for your shit. So, like, people, just using this as an example, you don't know people unless you meet them. Because I was actually in a private chat group with this dude and a couple other well-known people as well. And I thought I had a general idea of who this guy was. I was helping him
Yeah,
out with stuff, helping him write stuff, helping him do whichever. And never met the dude. and that's easy for people to take advantage of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going on to talking about finding the tribe, you mentioned a very important point, and that is, I'm not sure if it's an Islamic saying. It doesn't matter. It's a wise saying for sure. It might be one that's in Islamic, comes from somewhere, but even if it doesn't, or it does, it's universal. You don't know someone until you've traveled with them, lived with them, or done business with them. Is what they say. And I think that's a very good rule of thumb to follow with, because you see the reality of people when you travel with them, when you live with them, and when you do business with them, because money's going to bring out the reality of like either the best or the worst aspects of their character.
Right.
I don't think in terms of business, selfishness is bad, but there comes a point where it's like there's an abusive level of selfishness to where they start trying to scam you.
Right.
But everybody should look at, yourself included, you should look out for your best interest. Then traveling with people, you get to see there when you're cranky, because traveling, it's not always fun. When you're traveling, people say, "Oh, I want to travel. It's so fun," and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, until you're sitting on a plane for the next 12 hours, your back and your feet start falling asleep or whatever else. You're driving in a car for 6 hours or whatever else, or you're on a train and you're just getting stir crazy. You really get to see how that person's personality and character is when they're like dealing with the stress of like being just cooped up and trapped up in a traveling situation. And then living with people, of course, obviously. I mean, everything about a person that you live with. You know how their food smells, unfortunately, because when you got to use the same bathroom, you know their basic hygiene habits. Does this dude brush his teeth in the morning? Does he take a shower? Does he stink half the time? Everything about that person is like laid bare when you live with them. So, I think that's a general rule that you have to like you said, you use it as a tool, and then you have to meet these people in real life. And that's I think that's important, meeting these people in real life. Once you actually like established a baseline of you're not creepy weirdo that I might have to knock out, or you might like have me tied in the basement if I can't knock you out.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the joint, you get to know people real quick because you spend 24/7 with them, more or less, right? In real life, you have friends. You might see them a few hours a week, something like that. You go over to their house, you leave, right? When I was incarcerated, you're living with these people 24/7, and you get to know somebody super fast. You'd either form some type of friendship or alliance, or you'd know to stay the hell away from them within the first couple of days. And as far as like personal hygiene and stuff like that, there were rules. So like if somebody wanted to come in, like, this is unfortunate, but many people who are incarcerated were homeless on the streets. They did something, or they were whatever the hell, but they had no place to live. So they would come in. Oh man, I tell people all the time that half of the California prison system is a mental facility. I mean, it really is. So they'd come in and try and live that bum life, inside, and it'd be like, no, fool, you're going to go get in that shower, or we're going to beat your ass and throw you in that shower. Like, you're showering, you're washing up, you weren't. So there were actually like rules behind it. Like, there were things you couldn't do. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't just go in. Yeah, you couldn't just go in and be a bum and stink, and so it was like one of those things to where, like you're saying, with the travel or get living, doing business, when you live with someone, boy, man, you can figure them out super quick.
Fast, yeah. I actually did the first time I think I ever actually lived with like strangers was in Saudi Arabia. I was living in Medina, and I was teaching
that's
at
the birthplace of Muhammad, right?
Yeah. So So
they say or something.
Yeah, I was teaching at a university there, and at a technical university, and man, I moved in with a bunch of guys, young guys. Boy, that was the first time I actually started forming this idea that you got to really live with somebody. Before I even heard the saying, because I'm like, you guys are slobs. And then when I noticed like how they live, you started noticing the small telltale signs outside of the house, and you're like, oh, look at this pig. It's like, I try to be insulting, but it's like, whether how he deals with cleaning up after himself or taking care of how he eats at like a restaurant or something. And it's like, everything starts coming together. Does he wash his hand when he's leaving the bathroom? All of this stuff is like interconnected. And a lot of, and I was like, I can't hang with this dude because, what if I'm in a situation, I cut my leg open, my niggas here didn't wash his hands, come out of the bathroom, and he's got to dress my wound or something.
Dang, I gotta think about that.
He's gonna infect me with whatever virus he picked up in the local bathroom. I think like this because I'm always thinking like crazy situations. I may be a bit paranoid, but it's just like, hey man.
A little paranoid never killed anyone.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't care if there's soap in the water or not. You might be washing my dishes and I know you just touched the winky and you came out the bathroom. My knees. That's not gonna work. I'm not I can't live like that. I gotta come in and rewash all the dishes every time I use them because you coming out the bathroom just all like, hey man, how you doing? I'm like, hey.
Yeah. No, it's talking about living with someone. So when I first came out and discovered this jewel of a country, it was for Andrew's for the War Room Summit, right?
Okay.
And Andrew and Tristan were kind enough to invite me to stay at their place, right? And they had a few other people that were there. And people that I knew, people that I had already spent time with in real life or whatever, I got to know better, right? And for the most part, the opinion either stayed the same or even went up. Speaking of Andrew and Tristan, they put a lot of stuff online. I know it to be true. Not only was I there during that summit for a week, living under their roof, but I'm here now, and have been there and gone back and forth and whatever. And it's like they live that life. What you're seeing, that's legit.
That's the reality.
But there's some people that I've spent time with, and then you kind of live with them and spend more time with them, to where you're like, oh, so you're a little bit of a weirdo. Like you're a little bit like, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. So there is that, for the most part, my experience is meeting people from the social media community, and not just with Andrew's War Room, but even when I did the Patriarch Edition, the 21 convention in Orlando. For the most part, the experiences have been great. Like people portray themselves, just how they are, and you kind of get a read on people. I will say this though, there are some, like you're saying, like we're talking about earlier, to where there is an online persona and then there's the real person.
Yeah.
Right. And that is always kind of a little disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the days before, like, I really got into the
back in the day.
Back in the days. Did you know that old jam? Back in the days when I was young.
I do.
Yeah, that's an old school jam. But
I know it.
Oh man, so I was hanging out with, like, I wasn't even on Twitter back then. I don't know how I came across these guys, but it was like a Roosh V group, and Roosh was actually trying to do like these meetups.
Okay.
And he was the first guy who was actually trying to bring like online people together. And so I was living in London at the time. I was living in London at the time. This was before I started really looking at him differently. And so we decided we were going to meet in London, and then all of the sites started getting doxxed and whatever, and people were getting attacked. And we said, like, you know what, screw it, we're going to meet anyway. And I met these guys, and that came out like with a positive and a negative, because it's the same thing, like you said. There was like online personas and there was actual personas. And I actually met a guy who at the time, he came over because we were like one of the chapters that was doing well in terms of like sticking together and actually meeting up. We weren't scared, we weren't afraid. And I was like,
cool.
I was in London, I was highly aggressive, like I'm gonna knock someone out if they come at me, crazy feminists.
You don't strike me as a person that gets scared easily.
No, not anymore. Alhamdulillah. I'm quite happy about that. I'm not a badass, but at the same time, it's just like, you know what? There's a brick over there, and this guy's acting funny. So, head meat brick.
Yeah.
You know. So
Yeah.
there was this guy. He was really close to Roosh, and I'm not sure what his position was, but he was like very close to him. He came over to the London chapter. He was visiting us, and then one time we were just standing there, and there was a bunch of girls around. He was like trying to get his vibe, and he's like, dude, you're so natural, because I didn't really care. I was in London. I had multiple wives. I had like 2 wives. I was about to pick up a third, but it didn't work out. So I was like, you guys are on your own PUA thing. I can't do that as Muslim. And he's like, you're so natural and calm, and women like that stuff or whatever else. He's like, this isn't all an act, man. I have to like drink and whatever to feel good and like get in this mood. I kind of that's burned in my head to this day. He said, this is all an act. He's like, I really, I'm uncomfortable. And I was just like, online, boy, you like the G talking about your counts and whatever else in the Roosty forums. And I'm like, so it's just kind of like, okay, look, there's a mismatch. And just from that statement alone, I was like, I can't really hang with that guy. I mean, he was a nice enough guy, but I was just like, who are you acting? Who are you acting for?
Right. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people will take this kind of fake it till you make it attitude,
yes.
And
yes, I forgot about this. You're right.
And the thing is this: you should always be honest with yourself. It's not just about keeping your word with other people or being honest with other people. It's about being honest to yourself, because if you really think about it, people lie to themselves more than they lie to anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And part of that is knowing what your strengths and your weaknesses are. You know what your strengths are, so you can capitalize on them, and you know what your weaknesses are, so you can either A, improve, or B, delegate, right? or hire out, or do something.
Exactly.
Right? So it's really kind of disappointing, because when you put on these airs or this act, right? Eventually somebody pulls your card. Eventually.
Absolutely.
Like it's gonna happen. Right. And it's not like if it happens, it's when it happens.
Yeah.
Right. And that's so much worse for a person to have their card pulled, whether in public or even in private, than it is to just acknowledge, hey, I'm not this great at this particular subject. I need to work on it.
No, absolutely.
When you have your card pulled and you can't deliver, it ruins your reputation.
Yeah.
Just like you're saying right now. I don't know how long ago this was with the meeting, but you used the words, it burned into my mind. It burned into whatever. You know what I mean? Because it was like he exposed himself as a fraud.
Yeah.
So
that bothered me, because he's online putting on like a very serious, like hardcore persona and whatever else. And it was just like, and I was like, if this, man, you said it perfectly. And basically, I was like, if this guy can't be honest with himself, how is he going to be honest with me?
Right.
And that really bothered me. I was like, dude, I'm not afraid to say I suck at stuff. I have a webmaster, and I actually got a guy who markets for me. He does my marketing. And we're in like we're in a Telegram group. And I say it all the time. He hits me up and he's like, hey, you just said this, he said, sell it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I suck at self-marketing. I suck at it. I'm no good at it. My wife markets my book more than I do. This guy reminds me to market my services more than I do. I just suck at it. And so, I mean, I'm honest with myself that, this is something I need to work on. I mean, okay, this is maybe not like an ultimate like weak point. I have other points where I need to work on. But if you, again, like you said, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to recognize this, because how are you going to belong to a group or a tribe or form one? And, everybody's depending on you, and you're sitting here faking it. And like I said, one day your card's going to get pulled. It's not going to be good, and it's going to be at the wrong time. And I put this in my book. Yeah, I put it in my book. Let me do some self-marketing. I put this in my book.
Yeah.
And by fear of death, it's one of the quotes I put in here. By fear of death, I would rather be without a tribe than fail them. I put this in here, and so I wouldn't want to, have a group of people depend on me and rely on me. And then when it counts, when blood is on the line,
right,
here you come. Like,
and that's,
well, actually.
Yeah, and that's the honorable thing. It goes back to this selfishness right? That people want something so bad, or they whether it's an image, a persona, an actual physical, tangible thing, that they'll do whatever they can to get it. And when you start going down that road, all types of bad things can happen.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you guys have it. Like, one of the first steps to finding your tribe is being honest with yourself and who you are and what you are. Because if you can't do that, then nobody else can do it for you,
Right. And something about the war room that I want to bring up, because this is something that I see a lot in there. Okay. Mm-hmm. There are literally hundreds of guys in this group.
Yeah.
I partake in the discussions, and there's daily chats, different Telegram rooms, where people get together depending on what subject it is.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of these guys, they know that they have work to do. Part of what Andrew set up in there is he says, show your receipts, right?
Yeah.
So they have to prove or do whatever. And it's for leveling up. It's for getting better, because the reason why people join a group like this, or why they get involved, sure, they want to make contacts, but it's also because they know they're lacking in certain areas. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with admitting it. Nobody on earth was born knowing everything.
Nope.
Okay. Everybody had to be instructed. And I would rather deal with a dude that is seeking instruction and wants to know than some idiot that thinks he knows it all.
Indeed.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I see that with these groups, and the War Room is a paid organization. I personally think it's worth it for people to join, but it's not like that's mandatory. Okay, that is for a certain level, to where you're like, I want to make money, I want to get women, I want to do whichever. You're a member of the War Room. I forget who I'm talking to, but just to explain it to other people out there, while that exists, and while other organizations like that do exist, it's not necessary for you to begin meeting your tribe, making connections, personal growth, all that stuff. You can do that, just with who you are now, but you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, indeed. I like the War Room. I mean, I personally I was going to join, but I wasn't going to join at this point that I'm in it right now. My wife actually paid for it for me. I mean, that's something my wife did on her own. She did it as a present. I was like, okay, I said I was going to wait, because I actually knew I had work to do individually, and I didn't want to go in there and be the slacker guy, who had more work to do than everybody else. And seeing it now, it's like, it's quite interesting to watch guys, working on themselves and actually making real changes. I mean, I think that I'm in there, and I'm more of a lurker. I come in, I'll pop in, I'll jump in a conversation here and there. But generally, I'm just reading, I'm watching, I'm learning. Because like you said, nobody's born with everything. And this entire online world, other than YouTube, because I started on YouTube and then I came to Twitter. And so I actually, it's weird, because I surpassed the Twitter following than I did on my YouTube following. And I actually started on YouTube. Weird thing. Yeah, I was like, okay, how'd that happen? But, so when I got on Twitter, I was like, there's a whole new world here. And it's like, so, now I'm listening to these guys, I'm just watching. And it's like, that's what I do. I'm just in there learning, because it's just like, okay, this is all very foreign to me. A lot of this stuff. Oh, that looks like something interesting. I go research it. Can I take action on it? Can I not take action on it? And then I got my board over here. I got my calendar and everything. And I write this down. I'm research it, check it. And it's not just information gathering, but it's also like you said, it's for the purpose of self-leveling up. Some things I've implemented and I've used, other things. It was just like, okay, I was 15 minutes away from research. I know I can't implement that here in my life, whatever else. And it's important to have guys around you like that, because then you actually strive to level up and be better yourself. And my jiu-jitsu coach used to say, iron against iron. He's like, don't fight that blue belt. The blue belt wants to fight you because it's good for him, because I'm a brown belt. He said, you need to fight the black belt because that's good for you. He's like, so you need to run with people who are at a higher level than you so that you get higher level. And that's what's good about the world. You got some high ballers in there.
Oh yeah, for real. One of my longest friends, he's a dude named Ken Glover, a brother that was born in Watts, grew up, a tough life growing up. Was never in any gangs or a drug dealer or whatever. He avoided all that type of stuff. But he's a third degree black belt in Hapkido, and he's a second degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Machado Jiu-Jitsu at that. And for those that don't
I'm a
know,
Machado
huh?
I'm in the
What was
Machado
that?
organization also. I'm a Machado brown belt.
Yeah, I'm a Machado blue belt. Okay, so
Nice.
yeah, and yeah. So when I was starting, it was I learned more from him than anyone else. And when I started, I think he had just made brown belt, like when I had started doing that with him. And man, I'll tell people if Ken hasn't choked me out 1,000 times, it's at least 300 or 400. Like, I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, dude's just,
Yeah.
but that's how you learn is you don't measure yourself against someone who's lesser or even an equal. I mean, if you want to get good at something, you find those that are better and learn from them. What are you going to learn from somebody that knows less than you? You know, that's like you said, iron sharpens iron, you know?
Yeah, indeed.
Definitely.
Yeah. Everybody says like, you know, the hammer, what is it? Something you have to be the nail before you become the hammer. And I always thought that was an inappropriate comparison. Like, you know, you always have to take your blows basically. And I'm like, no, man, you have to be the raw material that's getting hammered and smith into the hammer itself. And then the hammer can be used to make a new one and forge a new one. So it's like, you know, it's just a different mentality. You can extrapolate a lot of this stuff that you learn from fighting into real life, you know, and that's what a lot of guys forget. Yeah. So
and a lot of comfort comes from that too. I've had people say like, and this is like, you know, I never like saying shit like this because it always sounds like I'm bragging, and I swear to God, I don't mean to brag. Like, there's nothing to me that's worth like I don't need the improvement or to be approved by other people, you know. But
indeed.
I've heard people say like, oh man, your body language is always on point, and oh, you know, when I meet you, you seem like the same person, and you're so relaxed with this and you're so relaxed with that. I wasn't born like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I went through a decade around the worst of the worst. Okay. And had to pick up certain things to where now when I'm in the free world, it's like a party. I'm like, hey, what's going on? You know, because it's like, we're all good. We're all getting along. I'd rather smile and laugh, you know, but it wasn't that was something that I came out of the womb with, you know, even my size. I didn't get like this on accident. I worked out for years, you know.
Indeed.
So
you gotta take care
of right. So people see the end product, right? And they go, oh, you're so natural, you're so this and that, whatever. Our experiences shape and mold us. You know, the hammer is the experiences we're going through, right? And that's, we all got to get hammered out. You know, now granted, some people are born with maybe talents, right? Like I could sing from a very young age, you know, and I was really good with different musical instruments. You know, I still play guitar, whichever, right? And that was a talent, but it was still something that I had to build upon. I didn't just know how to play a guitar or a piano. You know, those weren't things that were already in my head. Likewise with anything, whether it's your personal presentation, whether it's skill set that you have. The end product looks neat, but there's work getting there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's like that's underrated. And I can't remember. I think I was just watching like what's his name, Andrew and Rich Cooper talking about that, like just doing the work, man.
Oh, okay.
And that's something that's very important. It's like, you know, guys, when forming a tribe and looking for a tribe and finding the people like you're going to want to deal with, you know, in terms of your tribe, you got to find people who are willing to do the work or have done it. They have proof of it. So, you know, this is an also important point because, again, this goes back in. Now I talk about the untried, the untested. I can only come back to my book because I talk about all this type of stuff in there. It's like you're coming back to the untried and the untested. It's like one thing you don't want to do in the military or as a hunter, because I have my hunting license also. You don't want to go into the field with an untested weapon, you know. And it's the same thing with men. You don't want to go into the field with an untested man. That's probably worse than an untested weapon. I don't know, because untested man, you don't know how he's going to react. A gun, you generally have an idea of how it's going to react. It's either going to fire, it's not going to fire, it's going to fire crooked, you know. But untested man, you don't know what he's going to do. I'm quite sure, probably more so than me, from like your experiences in the past and you know, and in prison one, you've probably seen men do the craziest things in bad situations that completely illogical and doesn't make sense because of just pure fear, panic, and then like, you know, a lack of understanding of what his position is in anything in the world, you know. And so he just does something nuts, and you're like, holy crap, where the hell did that come from? You know, you're probably I don't know. I can assume so. I've seen people do crazy stuff, maybe not like insane, but like close enough to where you're like, I don't know how the hell you came up with that conclusion that would be the next course of action that you'd want to take, you know. And so,
you know, man, I tell this to people, and white dudes hate it when I say this. Okay, like they hate it. They feel like I'm being like some kind of race traitor or something when I hate it, or when I say it rather. But two things: the most scandalous, evil, stab you in the back, smile in your face, just wicked fools that when I was in the joint, they were the whites, hands down. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, like just wicked, right? And conversely, the most scared, wimpy pussy, go run and hide when anything went down were the whites. Like the every man for himself, save your own ass. I can't tell you how many times we'd be in a riot, usually with Mexicans, but sometimes with the brothers. We'd be in a riot, and I'd turn around and look, and like the whole white race was gone. There'd be like maybe 4 or 5 people there, right? The rest of them are like under their beds, hiding behind their lockers, doing whatever. And we're about to go up against like 30 or 40 dudes, and I'm just like, well, we're fucked. You know what I mean? But it's like you're saying, you don't know if somebody's not tried and true and tested, right? You don't know what's going to happen. Part of I actually wrote about this. It's on my blog for people that are interested in the story. But about halfway through my sentence, I left the white race. I said, I'm going on my own. I'm not running with you guys anymore. Yeah, it's called De Profundis. It's on the website bobbydino.com. You do the / blog. You can find it there. But part of what kind of got me through that was that all these fools had seen me in battle. So they knew that where I was coming from wasn't a place of like fear. I was just done. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like something like you know, I'm scared and I need to go, you know, because it's funny because the same people, the shot callers that were enforcing these rules about, oh, where were you? You went and hid. Now we're going to beat your ass, or we're going to, you know, do whatever. They were scary too, right? So it's like it's this whole kangaroo type dumb bullshit, you know. And I know people hate hearing me say that, but one thing that I will always say for like the Mexicans and the brothers is that they have the solidarity thing down. Like if there was a riot kicking off or something like that, there was actually like a rule or saying it was a rule for them. It was a saying for us. But there's a gang or a group of Mexicans in California prisons called the Southsiders or the Sureños, right? They had a rule, a no ass beating policy. That's what they called it. It was the no ass beating policy. And essentially what that meant was you would not get a one-on-one with them. They were very open about it. It was like if you tried to do something to one of them, you're getting jumped by all of them.
Wow, attack against one is attack against all.
Exactly. And that was the thing, you know, you could always like give them credit for. It was like, hey man, at least they're, you know, united. Yeah, because a lot of the times, well, most of the time with the whites, it was just every man for himself. You know, it was it was crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was.
See, I mean, I could probably formulate some opinions on this because I mean, I grew up in Germany, so I spent a lot of time around like, you know, ethnic Caucasians, white people, and so it's like, you know, probably more so than around Black people. And when there is a marked difference because in my book I talk about joining the crew, and the crew is ethnically an all Black group. We had actually one quote unquote outsider. He was a Sudanese guy. So his name was Yasir. And Yasir was like, you know, he was like the Chihuahua of the group. You know, there was in a group of like pit bulls, Rottweilers, and Dobermans, and he was the Chihuahua. You know, and he was always from his mouth. But he was hardcore in terms of like, I guess taking an ass beating. he would be there no matter
Yeah.
what. If he got punched in the head, and his teeth came out, he'd get up and come back for more. I'm like, this dude
Right.
is really down for the crew. He doesn't care
Yeah.
if he's like smashed. He's the only guy getting busted around. He's there. He's not going to stand in the background and let us do all the work. I'm like, okay, So I just thought about that when you said that. I was like, hey, that guy is actually, even though he's like 100% Sudanese, he's actually he was there.
Right.
But
yeah. And that's not to say that that every white person was like that. There were plenty that had heart, and that would be there. And there was at least one time that I can remember. It's actually a story that's been written, but it's going in the book. I'm not going to release it to the public until that comes out. But if not for the sake of a couple white dudes, I could have been in some serious trouble, right? With a situation that happened, to where all the rest of them essentially ran, right?
Yeah.
And I was just by myself, and hey man, we're here with you, Bobby. We got you. You know what I mean? To where it's like, okay, well, at least I got two others, So it's not to say that they were all like that, but I think a lot of it too is you have the gang culture, the crew culture, right? Which is a lot of these dudes that came in, they were in gangs prior. You have Bloods and Crips and Southsiders and Norteños and Bulldogs and Border Brothers. You have all these different crews, right?
Yeah.
But with whites, unless it was, unless they were AB, and I don't even like, I'm not going to say anything bad about those dudes because I want to stay breathing, like they can, you know what I mean? Not talking about them at all. They're their own thing, but I mean, unless they were like skinheads or something like that, they didn't have that understanding. They didn't have that adhesiveness, there was no getting jumped in or getting whichever, you know what I'm saying? So it was, I think a lot of it was just the experience that they had prior to that. And then these guys would get thrown in with all these other different ethnicities who lived a totally different way. And, it scared the shit out of them.
It's interesting because I was just thinking now, what was actually making me make faces there when you said this is like, my personal circle, it's not exclusive, but it just ended up like this. That my personal circle, I've got one German guy in it, and every last person in my direct close circle is prior military. And I just thought about this. Even German Army. This guy was German Army. He was Fallschirmjäger. That's like I guess it's like airborne, the German version of airborne. And it's like my inner circle is only ex-military guys, and I'm not opposed to anyone who hasn't been in the military being in my circle. It's just like
sure.
So that idea of like unit cohesion, unity, whatnot, it's very strong amongst these guys. And it's like, it's almost like it attracts like-minded. I guess we're basically going into ethics versus morals and values, to where it's like, that's also something that you have to have strong as an individual in order to find your tribe. Because if you're loose about this stuff, you're going to fit in here, but not entirely. You're going to fit in over there, but not entirely, And sure. I think that in that article you wrote, that's basically the establishment where you were saying, look, I can't mess with you guys anymore because you gathered up with somebody. I can't remember what it was a while back since I read it, but you basically gathered up some heads or some groups, and you was you talked to someone, and he's like, all right, I got your back. We're gonna go tell the guys that we're gonna back out of this. And that was a matter of a choice of ethics, virtues, morals, and values. And you were just like, I can't do this anymore. I remember that from the article.
So it was the shot caller that I went to, and fortunately, me and that dude had been on a level 3 together, which is at the time my classification points dropped, and I got down to what they call a secure level 2. I was P coded, which meant that I couldn't ever. P code is like for violence and serious crimes, so I couldn't ever go below that. Like a secure level 2 has the death fence, the electrified fence. It has guards in the tower. There is no going outside the fence. So it's basically and it's dorm living, which is crazy, right? Because at least when you were level 3 and living in a cell, as long as you and your cellie were cool, which you had to be, you knew that if you were in your cell and that door was shut, you were safe, more or less, right? To where in dorm living, like people get up in the middle of the night and, you know, sneak into your dorm if they wanted to. And, you know, you didn't. So it was a little bit more intense that way. People think like, oh, level 2, that means that, you know, it was easier. And it wasn't. You know, there were lifers, you know, on level 2 as well. As a matter of fact, that was like the goal for most lifers, was to get those points dropped down to a level 2 so that they would be hopefully more eligible for a parole, you know, if they had a date.
Wow.
But yeah, man, that dude that you're talking about, he was a shot caller, and the people that were assembled were essentially all the whites. Now, some of them didn't show up. It was around 30 or 40 that did, out of maybe like 60 or 70, you know. But I had to tell them, because I had to look each one of those dudes in the eye. Number one, let them know, like, I didn't want a rumor mill to start.
Yeah.
And then number two, if anybody had a problem, we were going to handle it right then, like right then. And it wasn't just to handle that person; it was to make an example. You understand? Sometimes the example. Yeah, sometimes the example that you set is more important than the problem that you're handling, because it kind of keeps other problems at bay.
You know, guys, I just want to give you a lesson. I know I'm always talking about my book, but this is for the viewers. I talk actually about this situation, and it's kind of interesting because it just comes together. And one of the chapters is called "All Good Things Come to an End," and I was talking about my time with the crew. And at one point, we did some crazy stuff, and I was just like, I can't be along with these guys. I can't just hang with them anymore. And I was a teenager at the time, and I pulled away from them in an uncalibrated way. I should have done like you did, just direct confrontation, just like, look, man, I can't mess with this. And so what happened is like, when I pulled away like that, they took it personal, and I had to actually fight it out with some of those guys, because I didn't deal with it directly like you did. And that's an important point, guys. Man, when you make a decision and a choice, and you know people are going to take that stuff personal, man, you gotta bite that sucker. You know, like what was that movie? It said you got to bite that dog on the ear, man. You got to go straight for that stuff. You can't mess around with it. You know, you got to be ready to deal with that. And I think a lot of guys don't know that. You know, I saw this in London. I'll give you an example. London is a perfect example of guys on a city scale doing this. And because there's 9 million people in the city, people are really good at like making and breaking friendships regularly. And so when they break friendships, they just break them like, you know, burn bridge style. And there's no need for it. And it's like, and they'll do it behind your back. And then you find out, you're like, you know what, this dude just did this stuff. And you're never going to see this guy in a city of 9 million people again. You're never going to see him. You know, you can work probably in offices right next to each other and not see each other again. And so guys are just going out here just acting crazy in a way that in another environment might get you killed. You know, I'm talking to these guys, and I'm not lessening the situation of London. You know, I was here last week with Sadiq. Sadiq might come on. I don't know. We'll see. London's not a joke city. You know, I think Andrew will say that. It's not a place you want to mess around and be stupid. But at the same time, I'm like, you guys are kind of crazy and running wild out here. It's like, you do this in America, he's gonna take time off work to find you. You know, so
man, I see some of those knife fight videos and shit like that happening in London, and I'm like, oh man, I wouldn't want any part of that. You know, I mean, like that mentality of just being able to run a blade up in somebody, that's an intense type of scary thing, because all the respect for life and for somebody else's, you know, live and let live type deal is just out the window at that point. And that's you know, that's something that I wouldn't want to be a part of at all. Like, that just kind of steers me away from that city.
Yeah, London's not a place it's a nice place to visit. You would want to live there. You know, I mean, I was just talking about the city in general, just kind of off topic. I went there, I can't remember, it was like 2 trips ago. It was a while back. And I went to Stratford Mall. Stratford's a huge shopping center. The shopping malls there are all by Westfield generally. Westfield is like huge shopping mall in Stratfield. There was actually
Westfield
a football
does the mall. Westfield does the mall in San Francisco and it's Westfield out there too.
Yeah, they got the best malls in London. So I'm at the Stratford one, and there's tens of thousands of people coming from some football game, because there's there's the Olympic Park right next to it, and so they're all coming from there, taking the underground, which is underneath the shopping center. I leave there, I go back home, And it's like 5 minutes later, someone's like, "Are you still at Stratford?" I'm like, "Nah, why?" And there's like, there was an acid attack. Just some kids took bottles of acid and just started spraying it over the crowd like it was funny. So you can imagine, like, and I was just there like 5 minutes before. I'm just like, man, that's like, and this is what I mean. It's like, this is also something. It's like, what kind of crazy are we dealing with here? I don't think people were intended to live like environments like that. It puts me on edge because it doesn't feel right to me to be around that many people in such a small area. So I can only imagine what kind of psychological effect it'll have on you for a prolonged period of time. I mean, I know that's a bit off topic, but it's kind of on topic. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, it's going to have that effect, and if anything, that just kind of magnifies the necessity to have like a solid crew, to have a good tribe of people, because part of that is having someone not only that you share common ground with, but someone that's going to have your best interests in mind as long as their own, someone who has a little bit of loyalty, right? But is also gonna make up in areas that you may lack, so especially in places like that, you need to have solid people, and you need to know who they are.
Absolutely. That's a big problem too, knowing people and knowing who they are, because you never really know people. Like you said, until you travel with them to business or whatever else. I mean, there's a lot of people in London who disappointed me, and not from a personal, like, profit aspect or whatever else. It's just like, okay, I didn't know that's who you were. I've been hanging with you for months, and you're actually quite unreliable of an individual. And it's like, and it's for stuff that doesn't cost them anything. I'll give you an example. This is a classic example. I married a Yemeni girl in London. I went to a local masjid. He and I, this is a Muslim guy, and we both went to masjids. We were both trying to get married. So they hit me back immediately. I was the older guy. I had a job. I was working at a tech company. He was the younger guy, still studying. He didn't really have a solid job. So they're like, hey, man, you're in a position to get married. This guy, he's nice, but, you can't take care of a girl. So they call me up, and I've been hanging with this guy for I knew him in Qatar. That's the thing. I met him in Qatar. And so then we met up in London. They're like, now character references are important in Islam. So they're like, bring us some character references to tell you about who you are. Tell us about who you are. Yeah. Okay, fine. So I called him up. I was like, hey, man, remember that masjid we went to? And he's like, yeah. I said, yeah, they hit me up about a girl. And immediately he was like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, they want a character reference, man. I said, I know you since Qatar. We're hanging out here in London every day, when I'm off work. Why don't you come with me to the meeting and you can tell them about me? And I actually honestly didn't know what he would say. I didn't know if it was good, if it was bad, but I was willing to accept that. He's like, no.
Right.
I'm like, what? I was like, what do you mean you're not going? I was like, dude, you can crap on me there. Just come. He's like, no, absolutely not. And we got into a big argument. He's like, I don't think you're ready. I'm like, dude, I got a good job. So I'm working. I can take care of myself. Obviously this, that, the other. He's like, no, I don't think you're ready. I was like, I said, then why did you even go with me to all these masjids knowing that what we were going there for was the purpose of asking people for marriage? And it's just, it turned out that this guy was actually just like a close by hater. He knew I was Abuamerican and everything, and he was just actually like an orbiting hater. And I never found this out until it was important. And then actually turned out that like half the guys in London that I knew, even the guy who helped me get the job there at the tech company, he went out of his way to get me the job. He was in the same boat. And I was like, you London dudes is really special. Now there's some good London dudes, and I'm not crap them all, because I got a really tight homie who's just here, and he's proven himself more than once. But I think large cities are antithetical to finding a good solid tribe unless you grew up there and been through it with people,
Man, so I was born and raised in the LA, and actually Orange County, but ran around. It's the neighboring county, and spent a lot of time in LA. And it's just like you're saying, you could meet somebody and never see them again. There's millions of people that live there, and you're right. It is something about a big city, but even more so, it's just people in general. Like when you've done work on yourself to make yourself a better person, or to improve yourself, level yourself up, most people haven't. Okay, it's just how it is. Just like most people aren't rich, most people don't have nice things or whatever. Most people have not taken the time to improve themselves. So when you become such a person, it is glaringly apparent to others that you're doing that, and it's also in your face apparent to you that they aren't. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
I do.
so you start noticing, and what ends up happening, and I've said this, and you've probably said this, is like, man, a solid dude is just hard to find.
It
You know,
really
they
is.
they just aren't out there. You know,
Yeah.
and that's the unfortunate deal with that, is that most people will let you down if they aren't in of the same mindset. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I dare say it doesn't have to. It's not a necessity. It's not an absolute. But from a general sense, um, I think you nearly have to always go through some sort of adversity with someone to actually know how down they really are for you. And of course, this doesn't have to be the case. You can know when someone is down for you. There are people who are just down for
Right.
you. But generally, it's like when a person is willing to risk like personal finance, and you shouldn't ask this if you're going to be in a tribe. This is absolutely something you should not expect of a person. But if a person's willing to put
Yeah.
himself on the line,
Right.
to a point where it's like it could have some sort of negative repercussions for him. I'm almost at that point where I'm like, you know what, this is what it's going to take for me to actually trust new people. And
Yeah.
sometimes I set up situations that aren't real just to test somebody, because I'm like, who is this guy and what is he really about? Let me see what he's about. And I'll give him some sort of weird scenario. Hey man, check this out. I need you to do this for me. He's like, that sounds dodgy. It's not dodgy, but just trust me. Yeah, but it sounds dodgy. Hey,
Yeah.
just trust me. And then there's actually nothing to do. But I just want to see how they respond sometimes. Because it's like, before you actually let that person in your inner circle. Because me, I tell dudes, and I'm joking, but at the same time, I'm not. It's like when I say to you, if this goes down right and you have a body, I'll show up with a shovel and no questions. I'm dead serious. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I'll put myself in your unfortunate circumstances. Please don't call me on it. I hope it never comes to that.
Yeah. Don't ever call somebody on
Say
that. God
yeah,
forbid.
but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, it's like, that's where we're at if we're at homies, because I'll show up and I'll be like, all right, look, man, we in this together. This is my homie, because I know this guy is down for me to the point that if my family, I got a guy like that, it's like, he's white dude, he's prior military. I'm like, I know that if I go down, he's going to ask about my family in my death or in my absence if I end up in jail. And I'll do the same for him and his family. So for me, getting involved in someone's problems like that, for me, that's what my crew is. And that's why it's exceptionally small, in terms of a group and a crew. And I'm not saying everybody needs to go to that level. Not everybody needs to go to there, but that's
Yeah.
me.
There's I actually had a conversation about this. I talk obviously in the DMs, and then whether I've exchanged numbers or whatnot. But there's a young woman who I don't want to say I mentor her, but I basically kind of do, right? And I talked to her, and we were having this conversation the other day. When I was One of the things that I struggled with when I came home, and maybe struggle is too strong a word, but it was something that I definitely had to be mindful of. Okay,
Yeah.
was that I would place loyalty and live by a standard for people that didn't deserve it, or people that were
Yeah.
unworthy of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
I do.
I had done this thing to where I was down. I just like you're saying, man. Where do I show up with the shovel? Hey, I got a truck.
Yeah.
Just I got a truck
Yeah.
and a carpet. Let's roll it up and get going, right? So I mean, like I understand that type of scenario, and
Yeah.
and what would happen is I would give these people my loyalty. I would have their
Mhm.
back no matter what, but they were not the same.
90% of people aren't.
Yeah, it was not reciprocated, and they were totally unworthy of it. So it's one of these things to where I had to be mindful of it when I came home. Like, hey man, you gotta, feel people out a little bit, because that's the problem that I have is my from doing the time that I did, my bullshit detector is on point, right? So like when somebody starts just spitting stupid stuff, or like they're lying or they're whichever, like usually I can just smell it coming off of them. Like I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
know, like, oh, you are full of shit, right?
I got a
So
personal
I
safety for you.
Right. So it's like, so then it's like when I feel like, oh, okay, this dude's, he's not full of shit, he's real or whatever, but still they may not have that same type of loyalty mindset or friendship mindset, if you will. And
Yeah.
you put loyalty and friendship into people to where it's totally misplaced. And that was something that I would recommend too for people, since we're talking about finding your crew, finding your tribe, is don't be too quick to trust and invest. You know,
Absolutely.
you got to have a little bit of a vetting process, and let people. I'm not saying people have to prove shit, because I don't feel like I got to prove anything to anyone. Okay, so
Indeed.
I'm not going to be like hypocritical about it, but at the same time, don't put all your faith and loyalty and trust to where you don't know if they're going to honor it the same way that you would.
Absolutely. That's why I said sometimes I come up with like these tests. I'm just like, what is this dude really on? Is he really cool like this, or is he not? Because sometimes, I can't tell sometimes. Some people are good at like hiding stuff. Like I said, I spent time with this guy in London. I could have sworn this guy was down. I mean, he was 100% friendly, happy, whatever else, Every time we hung out, he was just like, he was seemed like a genuinely happy person. But he turned out to be actually like, an orbiting hater. And I was like, wow, that was really good. But again, I noticed this environment like in large cities that like people are like social chameleons, and then like figuring out who these people are and whether or not they deserve and are worthy of that trust, giving it to them that level of loyalty. Yeah, I say 99% of people aren't, Yeah.
And some of that stuff can come out years later, bro. I mean, my wife just recently went through something to where there was a woman that she's been friends with for probably about 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And over business, and no fault from my wife. This is actually real estate business that we had hired this lady to do. She just didn't perform. And it wasn't like she didn't perform for, a week or a month or whatever. This was like something that stretched into, longer than a year, right? To where finally my business mind, I just went, hey, screw friendship. I'm firing her and getting someone else.
Yeah.
I got to live, right? And you would think like, A, I was either doing this lady a favor, or B, she would understand, like, hey, we gotta do. No, man, this they ended up not being friends anymore over it. And it's like, and it wasn't anything like it was brought negative, or it was, like, hey, screw you, like from our end, it was just, she took it really horribly, like just not good at all. So sometimes, you don't know what you're going to get. Like maybe down the line a friendship does end, but you definitely one of the reasons why I was talking to this girl about this is because women, this is a problem with women, and this is a problem that they actually go through with men. I know dudes are.
I lost your sound. Can everybody hear Bobby? I can't hear him anymore. Oh, your mic is muted. There you go. Oh wait, no, there's still no sound. Can you guys hear Bobby, or is it just me? Yeah, no, even here on the pad, you're actually.
I lost your sound.
Yeah, on the pad, your sound is off. Yeah, you can go out. If it's not going to restart, you can come out, go out and come back in using the same link, if that's what it takes. Oh, look, my background's all messed up. Bobby just has some sort of like technical malfunction there. He'll be right back. Sadiq from last week, he might be here also. Me too? You can't hear me? What? Is my sound working?
Yeah, you can go out.
Yeah, my sound's working. Okay. Hold on, he's back in. And me? Yeah, there you go. Now you got your back.
Okay, cool. I don't see you though. I don't know what's happening. Oh, I got to scroll down. That was weird. I had to scroll right now in order to. I don't know. It's probably because I'm opening it through this. No, but anyways, and that was weird. Somebody just tried to call right now, and
Ah,
when I
okay.
declined
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
it did something with the audio.
Yeah, that
Um,
happens.
yeah, so I know that some dudes may be like, "Oh, don't kill game for us" or whatever with what I'm about to say, but I think a lot of the devaluation that you see with women today
Uh-huh.
is because they put their faith and trust into a man that's unworthy.
Mm.
You know, I know we like to point the finger and be like, "Oh, it's these bitches." You know what I mean? They're just whatever, right?
It's the
But
famous
I mean,
line.
yeah, but it does take two to tango, and you have to recognize, just like you're saying, when you went to when you were going with this freaking hater to go look for a different wife, or to go find a wife that he wasn't ready.
Mm-mm.
He was a student, he was this or that, he couldn't support or whatever. So know thyself, right? and
Absolutely.
and and that goes for men and women. You don't want to be too trusting in a relationship too quick, both ways. And not just, it is what it is. I learned about that the hard way. I know everybody, they've got this red pill ideology that they end up going through, and they've all got their horror stories about things that they went through. My
Yeah.
son, uh I was only with this mom for like I think 4 months or something like that, when I was
Okay.
a senior in high school. Okay. And
Yeah.
she stopped taking the pill, like without telling
Mm.
me, like,
Mhm.
and basically,
Oh,
I mean,
man.
she saw, yeah, she saw that my family had money, so it was like a
Yeah.
pussy trap, and so I understand that that men could be screwed over like that, you know.
Indeed.
Uh, but you have a responsibility to do your due diligence. Like, it does take two to tango. And as
Absolutely.
much as I can say, oh, that freaking broad, she did this and that and whatever, you know, I have to look at how I entered and was in this relationship, and whether or not I did things too quickly or unresponsibly, you know.
Hmm.
So it is
Absolutely.
what it is, man. It goes both ways.
This is something I talk about in my one-to-ones a lot. The first thing I do, I start with my one-to-ones, is I analyze the guy first, and I take a look
Mhm,
at them. And what a lot of guys fail to understand, this is a big manosphere problem also, is that women are generally natural born followers. You do have like these effective,
mhm,
broken feminist women, but I'd say 8 times out of 10, generally when a woman meets a guy that like fits the classic masculinity script, she's gonna comply to him,
mhm.
and she's gonna be that girl for him. And
Right.
what guys, I think, especially in the manosphere, hate the most about women is women are like an amplified mirror of themselves. And since you are
Yeah.
always, yes, a leader of women,
Mhm,
because you have to lead women because they're goofy. I love women to death. I got multiple women in my life. I
mhm.
think everybody knows, but they're goofy,
Yeah.
and they make
Yeah.
goofy
Yeah,
choices
they
and
can. Yeah.
decisions based on emotion. And the thing is, if you're a bad leader, she's going to be a bad follower. You can't be a horrible
Mhm.
general and then go win the war. It's not going to work.
Amen. Yeah.
Guys need to understand with these women. It's like, okay, you're a bad general. You gave her a bunch of bad orders. Now she's over down in the field doing goofy stuff because you told her to go down there and do
Yeah.
goofy stuff. You know what I mean? Or you just didn't give her any orders. Go over there. And now she's down there taking pot shots at like ducks in the ocean while,
The
the
war's
enemy's
going
moving.
on. Yeah.
You know, what did you expect?
That's a
And
great point you bring up, man. That's an
the guys
excellent
don't
point.
like to hear that. They don't want to hear that.
Yeah. No, that is an excellent point. How many times have you seen to where, and you may have even experienced this yourself, because I know I have, but you'll see a guy with a chick or whatever, they'll just be getting together, and all of a sudden, like, the chick starts picking up little quirky habits that the dude does. Like, she'll start talking like him.
Yep.
She'll start doing and it's like you're saying, they're following, they're being led or whatnot. Um, and there's a responsibility from both ends.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would have been thinking, okay, and would have had my eyes open a little bit more, that situation wouldn't have happened with my son's mother. Now, granted, my son wouldn't be here today, So it's like I got to take it, for what it is,
Yeah.
and thank God that I have him, but it wasn't something that helped my life at the time.
Yeah.
I love my son to death, and wouldn't take it back, because but a lot of the experiences that I had with his mother,
Mhm.
uh, that was a result of me being a poor man. I don't mean poor as in riches, just not a good dude. I was
Yeah.
like 18 or 19 years old and didn't know shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Generally, most 18, 19-year-olds don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just we got to take responsibility for ourselves, and whether it's
Yeah.
finding a relationship or finding your tribe, your crew, you are responsible for what's going on in your life. Okay, you're responsible for you, right?
Mhm.
So do your due diligence. If somebody if somebody ends up getting over on you or whatever, yeah, you may not be able to help that person's negative intentions,
Yeah.
but you can look at how you got into the situation, or how it arose to begin with, and your part in it, if there was a part to play. Am I making sense?
No,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Well, one of the first things I always do, because I'm dealing with multiple women, and so I always have to look, because and it's never going to be smooth. I'm not going to lie to people and say it's like 100% smooth and it's always great. It's not. And sometimes,
yeah.
when I'm dealing with a situation, I have to look and I'm like, okay, what is my part in this drama I'm dealing with right now? And I always
Mm-hmm.
start from that perspective, because for me, whenever I read something, I hear something, or I look at like a hypothetical or even an actual physical situation that I'm dealing with, uh, myself, I have to look at it from the perspective of self first and foremost. I don't always
Right.
just take, like, he's making a statement about this person, throw it on that person. No, how does this apply to me first
Yeah.
and foremost? How can I like rectify or correct or better myself based upon what this individual is saying?
Sure.
So
Sure.
same thing with with the situation. I start with self-analyzation and then improvement. And 9 times out of 10, when I look at a situation, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see how she's acting goofy based upon what I've done here or there. Now, okay, I'll fix that for the future. But right now I have to rectify the soldiers, and I got to get it back in rank. And a lot of guys aren't willing to do that. Oh man, she's just and I'm like, okay, yeah, but dude, general, what orders did you give? Did you give orders? You
Yeah.
know, anybody who's been in the military, around the military, we know that when you join the military, you're very young. You're like 18. What do you think a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
18-year-old soldiers without any sort of command structure are going to do?
Right. Dumb stuff.
Goofy stuff.
Yeah.
And that's women. I always call them the most responsible teenager in the house. They're wonderful. They're great to be around. I absolutely love women, but you can't leave them without like clear instructions or guidance or structure to follow, because then they're going to
Yeah.
follow their emotions and they're going to start doing crazy stuff. And following their emotions makes sense to them, but to us, it looks like absolute chaos. And so
Yeah.
you have to direct that. And
Yeah.
it's 9 times out of 10, it's not her fault.
And that's probably the reason why, like for you maintain solid relationships with your wives. For me nowadays, I have a solid relationship with my wife, um,
Mm.
because we've grown in this area, and we know that there is responsibility on both sides.
Yeah.
God, one of the biggest game changers for me ever was just taking responsibility for my life.
Yeah.
There was always, you do these things when you're a kid where it was someone or something else's fault, you know. And the reason why you're in a fight with your old lady is because she's a bitch. She's on her period, or she's on a,
Uh,
whichever. Like we come up with all these different things, and
yeah.
we just like you're saying, you gotta start with you and then work out. Like, okay, what's my part to play here?
Yeah.
You gotta figure that out. Like going back to know thyself, right?
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself. Figure
Mhm.
out what's happening. Because if you can do that, you can avoid so many different conflicts, not only with women, but just with anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys need to understand stuff like that. Yeah. It's not, yeah, like you said, it's not just women, it's everything. If you know yourself and
Right.
you can control the outcomes of self. And that's very important. Know yourself. Like, man, I don't even know. I don't think I need to expound on that, man. You said it,
Yeah.
dude. Because
Yeah.
you can't control external outcomes if you can't control yourself and like even fix the
Right.
outcomes from yourself. How are you going to deal with
Right.
an entirely outside, unique sovereign situation and individual, and you can't control your outcomes as an individual? That's a big deal.
I can't remember the name. It was God, it was some old movie, like a classic movie, and I can't. I'm pretty sure it came from old. Like this was so long ago, but it's something that stuck with me. Is this woman goes to see the psychiatrist, right? And he's like talking to her, and she said, and it comes to where it's either her fault or the world's fault, and she said, well, I hope it's my fault, and the psychiatrist said, why? And she goes, well, because if it's the world's fault, I can't do shit about it. But if it's my fault, I can do something about it, right? It's responsibility. If you're going to blame everything on extenuating or outside circumstances, right? How can you fix a problem when it's not your problem?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just yeah.
But
So
for a lot of people,
go ahead.
They don't want responsibility. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to like do the hard work involved in fixing themselves. And so it's easier to blame someone else and then just I'm done. I don't have to do anything now.
God, you see it on these social media posts. Like one of the things that's so trippy to me now is we've got this thing about how people are hating on landlords, and especially because of this virus, like don't pay your rent, and landlords are the devil, and if you own property, you're contributing to. It's like, okay, so let's get this straight, right? You are in a situation to where you can't make it to where you can, purchase property. So therefore, you're going to attribute evil to anyone that does. Like, come on, man. And that's just one example, but it's nuts.
Yeah, it's insane. It just doesn't even make sense. But again, it's all about like removing personal responsibility to take action. People don't want to, because that's the issue, and it's a huge problem in our time that people don't want to take responsibility for what happens to them. Some parts, I'm not gonna lie, I say it to guys, I'm completely honest. I've made mistakes in my life, and I still suffer from them to this day. But they're my mistakes. I accept that, and I know that's the work I have to do. That stuff's never going to get better if I don't look that in the face and just say, hey, you know what? This is a turd sandwich, and it's mine. It's on my plate. Yeah. I can't push this across the table because there's nobody there. If I push it across the table, it's still on my table waiting for me. Nobody's going to come along, pick that sucker up, throw it away, or eat it for me. So this is an absolute, you got to deal with it yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to keep on stacking these dang turd burgers on your table. Theoretically, hypothetically speaking,
right.
Everybody gets the point. It's like, and then that's what's going to be your life. That's all that's going to be on your plate. You're not going to have, everything made out the way you want it to. You're going to have just a stack of crap. And that's what we're seeing with these people in these landlord stuff. They don't want to take the necessary steps to clear the table and say, hey, you know what? I got to fix this. It's a problem, man. It's a real problem in the 21st century. And I don't think it's back to.
Yeah, well, coming back to like being honest with yourself, so I tell people, I've said this before, to where if you let someone like give you a shit sandwich, right, and they know you'll eat it, they're going to feed you shit sandwiches.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that doesn't only go for other people, that goes for yourself too, right?
Mm-hmm.
To where what are you going to accept for you? Yeah, that's part of the standard. I think we talked about this last time, with the last time we talked about how submission is actually freedom, to where not submitting to anything is just anarchy. Right?
Yeah.
What type of control do you have over anarchy? If your life is anarchy, how are you going to work or fix anything? You have to have, I have a book called The Code, and you have to have some kind of code to live by, because if you don't, you won't have any structure or anything to measure yourself to in life. Essentially, religion is a code. That it's there's rules and laws and mandates and whatnot, and it's like, this is what's acceptable, this is what's not acceptable, and that is what you measure your life against, right? So you got to have some type of religion. And I don't mean that necessarily in the sense that people think. You got to have some type of code. Whether you want to be a religious person or not, you need something. Did I lose?
I'm back.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
I just dropped all of a sudden. I was like, what happened?
Yeah. All good. Hey, has anybody said anything? Because I saw earlier that my buddy Jim popped something up and I didn't
Yeah,
see
yeah.
it in time to. Oh, there he goes.
We
Is
were
this the
talking
same
about.
one?
Yeah, was talking about the women, and and he was saying
Oh,
that
likes
like
his
women
music,
will
his
like
politics.
politics, adopt his interest. That's generally correct. I mean,
Yeah.
I got a girl that does that for me. She handles all my like I said, she markets my book and everything. She completed my book. She actually did the photos and everything inside of it.
Yeah.
She does all my stuff for me. I mean, he's right. He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it's true, man.
Yeah.
But honest with yourself and vet, that's a big part. Use social media to take it to the next step, an actual in-person meeting. We want
Yeah.
to build up your crew, build up your tribe, find good people. That's what you got to do.
Absolutely. So, guys, you
Yeah.
got the list there. Use social media as a tool. Don't let it
Yeah.
use you.
Right. Yeah.
Real life hookups and not hookups. Don't hook up with anybody. I'm a Muslim, so
Yeah.
that's not wrong. But meet up with the people real life. Get to
Meetups.
know who
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and make sure you get a crew that like fills the gaps. No,
Right.
I said something recently about like the weak links. The worst time to find out what the weak link in the chain is when it's under tension.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
anybody who's towed something using a chain, you know how dangerous that is. You want to tow with a strap. Don't use chains. But when a chain snaps and it's under tension, metal has a bit of pliability to it. When that thing goes flying, it causes problems. You don't want that to be people in your life, where they just.
There was I remember they have these things in refineries called chain falls, and like you'll hang them from something and rig up whatever you're trying to bring up or lift off the ground, right? And sometimes chain falls can be like 100 feet long. You may be up 100 feet. You're trying to bring something super heavy up from the ground, so you're doing this chain fall over and over. And I remember one time this kid, the chain fall, the part of the rigging, right, got caught on this lip of this metal structure. So this kid's going on this chain fall and he's going, God, this thing's head. When in actuality, that a piece of that was stuck on there. So now this chain is stretching like a rubber band, essentially, right? And when it came free, it ripped most of his face off. Now he lived, but like you were saying, it's like it stretches. It's metal. People think metal is completely rigid, and not all metal is. I mean, there's always some type of you weigh. I had to study metallurgy as part of being a millwright, and there's like a pliability and brittleness, depending on what the metal is, and yeah, man, I mean, that's how screws work, or excuse me, nuts and bolts. People think that the way a nut and bolt work is that you just you put that nut on the bolt, and when it touches the metal, it holds it. No, what it's doing when you're coming down is it's stretching that bolt like a piece of rubber, and the tension from the metal being stretched is what's holding everything together. So yeah, you don't want to put something under tension or put something under pressure and then find out it's going to break on you.
Absolutely.
Or worse, come back and rip your face off.
Yeah, and that's your life. You don't want that for sure.
Yeah.
And that's funny because I work in the auto industry here, and we've got aspects of forging here, and so we have this stuff called multi-quench. And basically, it's like it's exactly what you said. Some parts need to be quenched at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time in order to get like either a particular type of brittleness or flexibility. That's very important, man. It's like it's very interesting, man. We got like a lot of stuff in common like that.
Yeah. Well, spring steel, like what they use for the leafs and different stuff in automobiles, like in the suspension and all that. Spring steel is a type of carbon steel, and man, there's dudes that like some of the best, most awesome like knives and edged weapons and all that are made from spring steel because it has that pliability. You can move it and it'll come back. Whereas stainless may look really pretty and maybe a little bit more expensive, but stainless is brittle as all get out. So the second that you put that thing at the wrong, your blade breaks, and now you got a useless tool. You know.
Yeah.
So totally, yeah. I don't mean to be cutting it short, bro, but I read a text from my real estate agent saying that she needs to call me. So I don't know
We've been on like 2
what
hours,
this
man.
is.
So
Yeah, it's all good. Hey, we can do this anytime though, man. I enjoy the conversation. I feel like you know.
Well, I was talking about starting a regular show. I got this guy Sadiq. Maybe we can do something. Maybe we can like come up with a plan. We have like a 3-way show. Sadiq's from London. He's in the prison. He came out of the prison system also. So I don't know.
Oh, cool.
We'll talk about it.
Cool.
We'll hit you
yeah,
up.
Yeah, I'd like to talk with dude. That's awesome.
He was supposed to come on, but I guess he's been too busy.
No. Hopefully we can set something up. That'd be cool. And before I part, if there's anything that I want people to walk away from this interview, is just be honest, man. Be honest with yourself. Know who you are and who you aren't. Know what you can work on and develop, and what you need to delegate or give away. And that right there will just elevate your life.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Bobby, it's always good having you on. I'm going to stay on just for a little bit, maybe like 5 minutes, and then I'm going to hop off myself. I'm just going to drop these guys a little bit of information. Bro, I will catch you on WhatsApp, and we'll see what we can come up with, man.
Right on, man. Thank you for having me, and thanks, everyone, for tuning in. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for being on, man.
All right, bro. Talk to you.
Later. All right, so, guys, I'm about to head out here myself also. I don't know. I think me, Bobby, I don't know if it's going to work. We'll see. I'm trying to come up with like a regular show where it's like me, Sadiq, and someone else. Hopefully, Bobby, we'll see. And then we're going to pick topics, sort of like Dude Party, but not Dude Party. But a similar idea. We're going to have a panel and just, we chop up over stuff. Sadiq was on last week. Yeah, if you guys know Sadiq, I had him on. He was talking about saving the youth in London. He came through the prison system also, just like Bobby did. And, so a lot of guys with similar backgrounds, in terms of like, running with like hard, rough types of crews and whatnot. And it's funny because, we all consider ourselves like, religious guys. Sadiq was supposed to come on, but it didn't work out. So, I don't know what happened. My site is actually down right now. Abuamerican.com is down. So if you try to go on there for 1-1, I had a 1-1 come through today. But if you go there and you're trying to get on the site is actually down. I think the site got hacked, so I just pulled it offline. But I just saw my webmaster guy is online again. So he's hitting me up, so I'm gonna have to talk to him because it's considered quote unquote an emergency situation, gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in. Your man Abuamerican. You can catch me on Twitter or Abuamerican.com. I'm out.